Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
Joining us on the show today all the way from Monterey, California, where I'm sure the weather is a lot warmer, albeit maybe not a lot drier, or maybe I should say maybe not much drier, because you guys have definitely had copious amounts of moisture over the last few months. Dan Sheehan, who is the co-owner of Good Vibez Presents, which is the producer of the largest reggae festival in the United States, the California Roots Music and Arts Festival. And you are the promoter and operational partner and talent buyer for that, along with other outdoor festivals through the U.S. And you do this with your wife, Amy, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we've been doing this together for 20 years now.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And you're still speaking to each other.
I know. Well, some days. It has its ups and downs, mostly ups, but yeah, it's definitely, when you bring it home with you, it becomes a little difficult.
Oh, I hear you. So tell me, how did you get started in the business, and why did you decide to take this path?
I grew up in Hawaii, and growing up, in Hawaii, reggae was a big part of the heartbeat of the islands, and it still is today. When I graduated high school, I moved to California to play football at a junior college, and kind of went through the motions there. Didn't really like school that much. And there was a festival up in Humboldt County called Reggae on the River. And I read it in an old High Times. It was, the back of a High Times in the late 90s. I was like, oh my God, this festival looks incredible. You had to send up index cards and a money order, and they would send you back wristbands. And that was their fulfillment process back then. I brought me and a few friends up, and I completely fell in love with the festivals. And I fell, as I started going more and more over the years, I fell in love with the actual process of the backside of a festival and kind of producing events. And I've always loved music, but I never had any musical skills as far as instruments or singing. And so this was kind of my next best thing. And I got a band in from Hawaii that I grew up watching. I got them into Reggae on the River, was persistent with the buyer there, got in with them, got the band on. And I think it was 98 or 99's festival, Natural Vibrations from Hawaii, played this event. And they asked me, hey, can you help us get some dates around Reggae on the River so we can come up and do some dates? I was like, sure. And so I ended up booking a little tour, primarily on the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. And the guys slept in my, I had a detached garage and a house that I had with a bunch of other roommates, because I was 23, 24 at the time. And, we would do the shows, we would come back, we'd hang out the house for a few days, go back out, do some more shows. And that was kind of my introduction. I completely fell in love with it. I fell in love with the actual operations and the music business, and kind of, bringing these events to life. And I went all in there. I moved to Guam for a couple of years to be a music director for a all-island reggae station, as well as kind of like the in-house promoter. So I was able to do some of these shows with other people's money, which was great. That's a good way to learn without losing everything, as young promoters tend to do. And I came back to California and went all in, and just kind of developed it, and we started Good Vibez Entertainment, was kind of the original name of the company. We did a bunch of shows. We did a bunch of Hawaii tours of California, lots of shows in Santa Cruz, California. I was involved with a couple festivals then. And then the opportunity to do California Roots came by. It was originally founded by a guy named Jeff, and he came to me in 2011 and said, hey, can you help me do this festival? And by that time, I've had a lot of experience of doing, large scale shows, from, doing a lot of reggae stuff, but then like doing, artists like, Jackson Brown and T-Bone Burnett and, Taj Mahal and some of these other artists that I was also doing a lot of stuff with. And so I was able to bring my team and my infrastructure, my know-how to that festival. And then in 2012, we came on and we became partners, and the Cali Roots kind of journey kind of began, and we kind of put Good Vibez in the back burner for a little bit. Over the last couple of years through the pandemic, I was like, you know what, we really need to bring back Good Vibez Presents. And we brought it back, and we haven't looked back. We have gone full blast into it. It's been we're up to 12 full-time employees, and that's not including obviously my on-site show staff. And we've kind of created a little kind of a cool little thing here. And we produce California Roots, but our other one that we just launched in 2022 is Rebels and Renegades, which is kind of our all-country Americana festival that we've done, and we're rolling that one out here shortly. And so that's kind of the space that we listen to a lot. That's like a lot of the music we listen to, and so we really wanted to do something in that space. And so now we're doing reggae and old country stuff. That's kind of our wheelhouse.
When you talk about the pandemic, and it's obviously been in the spotlight, even though we're now 3 years past the shutting down, the closing up shop of the music business almost in its entirety, how did you get through that? I mean, obviously, like everybody else, I'm sure you were a bit beat up and bruised by it. How were you able to survive during the pandemic?
We're in, mid-cycle on California Roots. And so, we had that going on. I think what we did was we kind of just shut down a little bit, right? We had to let go of our staff. We had to downsize our office space that we were renting at the time. And we went all in on the California Roots merchandise brand. Me and Amy, we kind of just like, we would do it all ourselves. We would fulfill it ourselves. And fortunately, we had huge supporters that, have been Cali Roots supporters of us for years that really kind of leaned in and helped us with kind of, buying the merch and stuff like that. And we did our first virtual festival, which I'm glad that I will never want to do a virtual festival ever again. We've done a few of them, but we did a virtual festival the first year of because, in March and then in May, when Cali Roots is supposed to happen, we did the virtual festival on that weekend. And we sold so much merch. It was like all of a sudden, like we had to go in and like, fulfill all these. And we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of packages that we had to fulfill. And, she was 4 at the time. We had our 4-year-old daughter in there helping us kind of pack stuff and, trying to do things. And we just hunkered down and really leaned into the brand and really leaned into the Cali Roots merch. And that was able to create some cash flow that came in. And then there was, I think there was the startup process of when, okay, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? And I think that was the most mentally challenging part for me. It was the unknown, right? It's like we were, will the festival happen? Will this festival happen? Because we also own a venue in San Luis Obispo. And so like that venue was dark for 2 years. And we didn't do a show in there for 2 years. But then the festival is like, all right, it's going to happen. And then things started happening again with shutdowns, et cetera. And then we had to punt it. We had to punt it 3 times, it's funny. It's we still laugh about it. It's like, well, let's see what happens in 2 weeks. Right. And that was kind of the beginning of the pandemic. Right. It's like, I can remember moving a Taj Mahal show to it was March 7th, and I was like, well, what is this? Let's just move it to June 1st. So we fine. Like this is just like something that we'll get through. And then come June 1st, and we moved it to October. And finally, Taj, people came back after the October one got canceled and said, you know what, we'll come back when everything kind of opens back up. And we started to see a lot of that with artists, where artists are like, you know what, we are just going to sit on the sidelines and ride this thing out instead of like trying to keep it kicking around. And so there was definitely a lot of that. There was definitely some, we struggled a little bit. Obviously, I think as all of us did, regardless of being in this business or not, I think we struggled. There was definitely times where, I was like questioning, like, oh my God, like, am I ever going to do festivals and do shows again? Like, is this like, and there was definitely, do I have to find a new career? Like, this is all I've known in my, my professional life. Like I've had like jobs in my early 20s, but like, this is all I've known, and this is all I want to do. And so there was definitely some of those mental challenges. And, once we started opening back up and things start to get better, fortunately for us, like a lot of people within the promoter space and other space, we were able to get, some help from the government. We did get, some shuttered venue money. California had a pretty nice grant program as well that we qualified for, for venues and promoters. And so we were able to get some of that government money, which definitely helped. It definitely helped. I mean, obviously, I think, not just because of the money that we got, but I think the money that just in general that was pumped into the economy, we're feeling that now, right? So that's kind of how we weathered the storm. And there was a lot of unpleasant moments, but it was also beautiful to be able to spend that much time with my daughter and my wife, my family, and like to have this forced pause. That was actually really nice. And it took us a while once things started to start back up to like get back into like full stride, and like now, I mean, we're definitely in full stride now, but like it took a while there for a minute. And I was getting tired, like earlier when we started to like tired at work. I'm like, what is going on? Like we were out of shape. We weren't in work shape. We were in, and so, but it wasn't a vacation, right? So it was, we were definitely fighting there for a minute. And like I said, thankfully the government kind of helped us with some money too. So
on the show with us today, Dan Sheehan, who's the co-owner of Good Vibez Presents.
This is Al Bowman from Nashville Public Relations Group, NashvillePRG.com. You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hey, this is Jack Sharkey, host of Between the Notes. Take a break from all the turmoil in the world and join us each week as we explore the magic, mystery, and beauty of music. Between the Notes, a podcast dedicated to everything music, available everywhere you get your podcasts.
As a musician, you have a dream, that vision of what success looks like for you. Though it's not only about the money, money is part of it. Whether you've been extremely successful or you're just striving to maintain a regular cash flow, you need a plan. Money Concepts can help you develop a customized plan to achieve the financial stability and success you want. For over 40 years, Money Concepts has been providing holistic financial planning services to individuals, families, and business owners. As an independent firm, Money Concepts and their associates are committed to always represent the best interest of the client. It's really about a committed, benevolent interest in them personally. This independence, coupled with that committed, benevolent interest, means they represent you, the client, not a product supplier. It's not about selling products, it's about helping you achieve success. To learn how this can benefit you, contact my buddy, John Adams, with Money Concepts at 737-867-9309. That's 737-867-9309. You can also email John at jadams@moneyconcepts.com.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
On the show with us today, Dan Sheehan, who's the co-owner of Good Vibez Presents. When you first started Cali Roots, was it more of a backyard party? You didn't start out as a rather large festival, I'm assuming, in the very beginning.
No, it was a backyard party. The first year was 1,800 people. The second year was 3,000 people. And, the idea behind the starting of it was a backyard party. That was the whole thing, right? it was that. And then, year 3 and year 4, it really started to ramp up. And then, year 5, it kind of went really big. And, now it's just, now it's within our space. It's like people use it as reference to bands and Cali Roots bands and things like that. And so, but yeah, to see kind of where it came from and to where it's at now, for a while there, we'd always say like, well, we're just trying to keep up with it, right? We're just like running along with this because it's like it was growing so fast and we were growing with it, as promoters and as people, and so to kind of be a part of that growth and see what has happened, it's a pretty cool thing, So yeah, I really enjoy it.
So reggae music, obviously, I think it's probably like Americana. It has its niche audience. It's obviously not as popular as, say, pop or mainstream country. But what sounds like the growth that you've been experiencing with the show, how accessible have the reggae acts been to come aboard on this festival? And then a second part to that question is, typically, how many acts do you look at to perform each year?
Fortunately for us, Cali Roots is a staple within our space, within the reggae space. It's pretty easy to get the acts we want. It's unlike, like My Rebels and Renegades Festival, like that's been a challenge to book. Cali Roots is a lot. We've been doing it for so long and it's a staple. Most of the artists playing, they're one-offs. Like they come in for the festival, they hang out all weekend. It's a cool hang. All the bands kind of get together. It's been easy. Don't get me wrong. Like the cost of our talent has gone up, you know what I mean? And so, there's bands that I was paying, $35,000. I'm paying, 4 times, 5 times that now, Yeah, the artists, we can, we're pretty confident on who we can get. And, the space is limited on certain headliners. And so we definitely have repeat headliners. And because it is a niche market, right? Like we're never going to sell 100,000 tickets for this, like that's never that. And, that's just never going to be what it is, and that's not our model anyways. Our model is we like to stay in that, 5 to 15,000, kind of capacity for our events. It's definitely, we're able to get the acts that we want, which is always a nice thing,
Now that you're back in the driver's seat and you're starting the festivals back up again after this multi-year hiatus that the whole music industry had, are you seeing a renewal of interest? Are you seeing a growth in the festival now that you've got it back up and running? You seeing more people wanting to attend and get back out into that live music atmosphere?
100%. We're seeing that. Which is a cool thing. Last year, we really saw it. This year, kind of looking at our analytics, kind of, we really are huge in the data and kind of, really dissecting, who's coming. And so we're able to see that, we're having 55% of people are return people and 45% are people are new people. So, for this year alone, which is always fascinating to me. I think it's healthy for a festival to have a similar number like that, because if you're at 90% return and 10% new, the longevity, this could end up in the next 10 years, like those people are older, they have kids, they're grown out of going to festivals. And so I think, we always make a strong push to bring in a bunch of new people. And we're seeing that this year. We have seen it, but we're also seeing people that have been for 10 years, 10 years straight, and so. And then, like I said, life happens, right? People I think as festival promoters, I think, that's kind of one of the things, having a great understanding of is like life happens. People end up, they have kids and they move off, or their job is not as flexible for them. And the other thing is too, it's like everybody and grandma's doing a festival now, right? It's like there's so many festivals out there and there's only so much money, that disposable income that people have, that they can buy tickets to these, to multiple festivals. And like, for me at my age, like I'm like, I'll go to a couple festivals a year, but like, there's so many options for people to choose from. And so I think that's also a factor that, we are all kind of keeping our eye on, because, it's like, there's so much to choose from, so.
You talked about the price of the acts having gone up incrementally over the years. Are you finding that, especially with the reggae acts, they're getting a little more difficult to book? or is that genre of music providing enough talent that you can pull from a fairly deep pool?
It's getting a little bit more difficult to book because there's a lot of reggae festivals, and some of them are mine, right? Some of them I'm cannibalizing myself with some like doing multiple events. But we're finding it a little bit more difficult. Like fortunately we have bands like Revolution and Slightly Stupid that are staples. And then we have like artists like Stick Figure, who at one point played our smallest stage at Cali Roots. Now he's headlining Cali Roots. And he's arguably the biggest artist within the reggae space right now. And so, and then like some of the older like Jamaican acts, unfortunately, like those artists are passing away, and they're like, Toots and artists that like that are no longer with us. And so we're losing some of those artists. And so obviously that pool is a lot smaller, but as a festival producer and as a promoter, it's like, it's our responsibility to try to elevate some of these mid-level bands, smaller bands to be our next headliners. Kind of like, kind of a similar thing that we were a part of with Stick Figure. Like we were working with them and his team to elevate him to the level that he's at now, and that was, I think it's important to kind of create new headliners because, when you're in a scene that has 4 or 5 of the same headliners, it becomes difficult. And sometimes, you got to kind of rotate them out. But like, unlike the pop space or the rock space where you have a few more, granted, some of these artists are in cycles and all they're doing is playing festivals that summer. And, you have artists like Odessa or some of these artists that are playing on headlining every festival, like through the summer, but with reggae, it's like, we have a handful of them that kind of are our headliners. And, we're trying to elevate some of these mid-level bands to kind of get to the next headliner spot.
Jumping back to an earlier question that I had for you, the festival runs how many days?
We're at 4 days right now. Yeah.
Wow, 4 days. And over that 4-day period, how many acts do you have, and how many stages?
So we're 13 acts a day, 13, 14 acts. We'll add some pop-up stuff, some acoustic stuff. So about 13, 14 acts a day, and we have 3 stages. One of the cool things about our festival is, the 2 main stages, there's no overlap. So like you can see every single artist. I think, some of these festivals, when you see, 100 different acts on it and like, yeah, it looks really cool on a poster, but then the fan has to then choose between who they want to see. And I think that's something that gets overlooked. I mean, it looks great on a poster, but like when you get on site or the schedule comes out, well, you're like, damn, I got to choose from these 2 acts. And like, I want to see both of them, and so we really strive to make it to where you don't have to choose, so you can see every act. And the way the venue's set up is like, it's kind of an ebb and flow. So it's like, it's like the stages are on the opposite side of the venue. So you kind of, walk from one stage to the other, which kind of goes through vendors, goes through our merch, goes to the bars, and then you get to the other stage and then vice versa. So the setup is really cool to kind of set it up so fans can see every artist,
Typically with a 4-day festival, is there the option for 1-day purchase tickets versus all 4 days? What's the percentage of a 1-day versus the whole enchilada?
Well, it's a good question because that's an ongoing topic in my office. We a couple years ago, like 3-day tickets were the number one, right? What we're seeing this year is we're seeing more people buying single-day tickets. And I think so the percentage is higher on single days right now. And I think my theory or my kind of thought process on that is, I think Monterey first is, it costs a little bit more. It's beautiful. So hotels are a little bit more expensive, but I also think people are holding their money a little tighter. So like, instead of, buying a 3-day ticket and staying in a hotel for 4 days, they're buying that 1-day ticket or the 2 days, and they're kind of like mix and matching, they're doing a Thursday and a Saturday. I think we're seeing more of that, which I think I think it's just kind of how the times are right now. We have also went into a all-in pricing format. And so basically, our tickets are a little bit higher, but all the fees and credit card fees, everything is kind of baked into it. So like when you check out, it's the same price. So I think, we've kind of we're having this conversation internally. You're like, do people see the ticket and they're like, oh my God, it's just a little bit more expensive. But at checkout, if you're paying $120 for a single day ticket, at checkout, that ticket's $120. There's no added fees. There's nothing. It's all in, And so I think with all the Ticketmaster stuff going on right now, that, we really kind of wanted to go to that format, and we're kind of having that conversation. So, but to answer your question, yes, we're seeing more single days this year than we have in the past.
On the show with us today, Dan Sheehan, who is the co-owner of Good Vibez Presents, producer of the largest reggae festival in the U.S., California Roots Music and Arts Festival.
This is Sharon Kendrew, President and CEO of High Road Incorporated, and you're listening to the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives, whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at music's benefits through the lens of science and medicine, entertainment, and business. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio.
When you have a Korg synth at your fingertips, the possibilities are endless. Be it digital, analog modeling, altered FM, wave sequencing, or the multi-engine synth, Korg gives you easy access to a variety of features to help you get the perfect sounds quickly. Whether you're a professional musician or just starting out, Korg truly has a synthesizer to help you express yourself. Visit Korg.com or your favorite Korg dealer to get your hands on one of their products to create new music always. Korg, the official sponsor of the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back on the show with us all the way from Monterey, California, Dan Sheehan, who is the co-owner of Good Vibez Presents. They are the producer of the largest reggae festival in the U.S., which is the California Roots Music and Arts Festival in Monterey, California. When I read your bio, you're a little bit of a Renaissance man. You obviously a concert promoter. You worked in the radio business, I guess, in Hawaii and Guam. And you're also one of the hosts of Sirius XM's The Spectrum Cali Roots radio show. How did that come about?
Our friends over at Ineffable they approached Sirius with, and we've had a great relationship with Sirius when they had the joint. Pat McKay over there is a dear friend. And, we've been pushing this idea for a while, and, Adam Gross at Ineffable had a conversation with them, and then kind of looped me in. It was a hit right off the bat, and so that kind of has happened. It was on the joint for a while, then the Marleys bought the joint. And so then we went over to the Spectrum, and it's great. I love doing radio. Radio is one of the, I have a lot of fun doing radio, always have when I was a DJ. And so I'm able to play new music. I'm able to play some of the roots of reggae, but then I'm able to showcase, Cali Roots and the artists that are playing Cali Roots. And my co-host is, we each kind of rotate weeks. And so Eric Rockman, who's the lead singer and guitar player for Revolution, is the other host. And so I enjoy it. I love it. I love radio. I think radio is so fun. And to be able to do this on a platform like Sirius and promote Cali Roots and the band on it, it's awesome. I really, really enjoy it. And I look forward to recording my show every week, and it's very thought out, and the playlist is very thought out. And it's one of those things that, like, there's no, as far as an individual, there's no monetary, but it's to have a show that, has the namesake as the biggest festival that we produce. I mean, that's pretty awesome, so, and it's great marketing, right? So, I mean, I call it what it is. It's huge marketing. So
let's talk about your other festival for a minute. We've kind of touched on it briefly. Is this the first year for it?
For Rebels and Renegades?
Yes. For your Rebels and Renegades festival, this is the first year for that?
Correct. Yeah. So that's 2022 was the first year. We had Cody Jinks headline one night, and Trampled by Turtles, and Orville Peck, and Cadillac 3, and Charles Wesley Godwin. It was huge. It was typical first year festival, right? We had a lot of great press. We had the vibe and energy was great. The P&L was not great, but we also knew that going into it. And we're excited to roll that out again. So I'm just about done with booking it, and we're hoping to roll that out in early March. It's kind of along the lines of, like Under the Big Sky. It's a similar kind of lineup that they put up there. We absolutely love that music too. We're huge fans. I wish we could, we were trying to get Zach Bryan, but we kind of missed that boat. So, the Tyler Childers of the world, it's it's a little bit different than reggae. It's the artists kind of are bigger than what we're dealing with in the reggae space. And so, but we're excited about it. I think I love the brand. I think it's a strong brand. All the bands that were there. I mean, Cody Jinks' words to me after the show was, man, this is the best first show festival I've ever played. And so, to be able to do it at the same grounds that we do Cali Roots, and we have kind of a home field advantage, right? And so we have the staff there. We know exactly how to run. We run it there. But I think a lot of the bands were really kind of over the moon about they're playing at the venue that Monterey Pops happened at. The birthplace of the American Music Festival is at the Monterey County Fairgrounds. I mean, that is the birthplace with Monterey Pops in the 60s, with Jimmy burning his guitar and the Who smashing all their gear. That's kind of the concept of a American rock music festival happened. And so a lot of the bands, they went to the stage and they were able to be on the same stage. And I think for them, it was really powerful. And it was and so I think that's the ace in the hole for us is I think the venue is something that's, it's historic, so.
Somebody wants to attend either one of the festivals. How can they find the information, buy the tickets, all that good stuff?
You can go to goodvibespresents.com, and it has all of our festivals on it. And so, Good Vibez Presents, that has California Roots on it, that has Rebels and Renegades, and our other festivals that we do, and our venue stuff and other outdoor stuff we do. So it's all on goodvibespresents.com. That's vibes with a Z, VIBEZ.
And you also mentioned merchandise.
Yep, that's all on there too. Yeah. Huge fans of merch. I'm that's kind of one of our calling cards. All of our festival has really strong merch, really good designs, really good garments. Yes, it's a revenue generator, but more so it's branding, right? So people are just wearing your stuff everywhere you go. You're wearing an Americana Fest hat. It's that's part of people see that and they're like, oh my God, what is that? And so I think that's we're huge fans of the merch and creating brand. We look at creating brands with our festivals. So.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Bob. It's been a pleasure.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.